second biggest government hoax that Ireland has ever put off in the history of our country. The Giant's Causeway on the coast of Northern Ireland is one of the UK's outstanding natural features. Its steep cliffs and deep bays form a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The rocks on the shore, they're all in this hexagon shape. It's like, climbing over a giant beehive. Feels like a earthquake dragged some of the tectonic plates out of the ground some hundreds of years ago. The valley filled up with lava until it was 100 meters deep. It was 1,200 degrees Celsius. And it's like everything. If you boil a kettle, it'll cool down. A 20-ton concrete door moved on its own at the Giant's Causeway in Ireland, and a tourist drone captured the whole thing. The stone door stayed open for exactly 11 seconds before sealing itself shut. Scientists brought in ground-penetrating sonar to scan what was behind it, and what they found made one researcher resign immediately. Another abandoned the investigation, and a third refused to ever discuss the results. The sonar revealed 7 figures standing upright inside a sealed chamber, each one over 2 meters tall, arranged in perfect formation, and radiating the exact body temperature of a living human being. These figures have been trapped inside volcanic rock for 60 million years. But here's what terrified the research team. When they returned 4 days later, only 6 figures remained. The 7th had vanished from a chamber that never opened, and the 6 that remain are slowly moving closer to the door. The footage. The man who captured this footage is Marcus Whelan, a 34-year-old electrician from Dublin. He was filming sunset shots over the causeway when his drone recorded the impossible. This is all BS. Because this hoax was pulled off back in 2015. The slab of basalt shifted outward from the rock formation, revealing nothing but darkness behind it. 11 seconds later, the stone sealed itself shut like it had never moved at all. Marcus uploaded the video to a geology forum that night, expecting experts to explain what he'd seen. Instead, Dr. Ciara Brennan, a volcanologist at Trinity College Dublin who had studied the causeway for 15 years, contacted him within hours. She told Marcus his footage was either an elaborate hoax or something that defied everything she understood about volcanic. Yes, exactly, a hoax. Telling lies. Formations. So here's the catch. The Giant's Causeway formed roughly 60 million years ago when volcanic eruptions created 40,000 interlocking basalt columns. No geological survey has ever documented a sealed chamber inside the formation. No record mentions hollow spaces of significant size anywhere in the structure, and no legend, ancient or modern, has ever described a door. 3 days later, Dr. Brennan arrived at the site with ground-penetrating radar equipment. What that machine revealed made her sit down on the cold rocks and stare at her screen without speaking for nearly 2 minutes. The chamber. The sonar detected a hollow void behind the basalt wall, roughly 12 meters deep and 8 meters wide. Volcanic formations don't typically create sealed cavities of that size without collapsing over time. But the dimensions weren't what made Dr. Brennan go silent. Inside the chamber stood 7 upright forms, each figure measured between 2.3 and 2.6 meters tall, far exceeding any known ancient population in the British Isles. They were more lies, It's exactly 1.4 meters apart, arranged in a perfect line facing the sealed entrance. And this is where it gets terrifying. Basalt doesn't form around objects in vertical positions, unless those objects were already standing when the molten rock cooled around them. Dr. Brennan ran the calculations 3 times. These figures had been sealed inside that chamber for somewhere between 50 and 60 million years, long before humans ever existed on this planet. Dr. Ian Walsh, a geophysicist from Queen's University Belfast, arrived stoned out of his box at the following morning with more advanced scanning equipment. His face was calm when he started the survey. 20 minutes later, his hands were trembling so badly he had to set down his tablet. The figures weren't solid stone. Density readings showed they were hollow, with thin outer shells surrounding empty cavities. Whatever had once been inside them was gone, or had already found a way out. The cover-up authorities were notified within 48 hours. That's because of the hoax. That's exactly why. The cover-up. Team from the Northern Ireland Environment Agency arrived to assess the site. Their official statement claimed the drone footage showed a natural optical illusion caused by shadow. Morse did, because there were all smoking tea bags across the rock face. They insisted no internal chamber existed and no further investigation was warranted. But here's what that statement didn't mention. Dr. Liam Gallagher, the agency's lead geological consultant, refused to sign off on the official report. According to 3 sources who were present that day, she reviewed the sonar data in complete silence, turned visibly because she knew it was all lies. A terrorist hoaxed, pale, and left the site without speaking to anyone. She submitted her resignation the following week. When former colleagues reached out asking what had happened, she replied with a single sentence, "I saw enough." The agency quickly restricted public access to the section of the Causeway where Marcus had captured his footage. The official reason cited erosion concerns and visitor safety. No further explanation was ever provided to the public or the press. Before you hear what happened next, hit that subscribe. Yeah, that's all you want, subscribe. Telling lies about our beautiful country. Giant concrete doors opening up and closing. Get out of it. Right button. This investigation took a turn that even the researchers involved still cannot fully explain, and you're going to want to see where this leads. The disappearance. That Finn McCool. He disappeared into that door, didn't he? Dr. Brennan returned to the site 4 days after her initial scan. She wanted updated readings to compare with her baseline data. Standard scientific procedure. The kind of routine follow-up that researchers conduct without expecting anything unusual to occur. The new scan showed 6 figures. She ran the equipment 3 times. She checked every calibration setting manually. She had Dr. Walsh verify the results independently using completely different equipment. There was no error in the readings. One of the 7 figures was no longer inside the chamber. But yeah, that's because he went for a snack box. At this, the stone door hadn't opened. Marcus had left a motion-activated camera trained on that exact section of rock, running continuously since his original sighting. The footage showed absolutely nothing. No movement, no gap appearing in the basalt, no change whatsoever on the exterior surface. Yet, you never mentioned a back door. There's a back door in. They used a back door. And they have a big giant car to go get their snack box in the chipper. Something inside that sealed chamber had moved. Dr. Walsh carefully documented the positions of the remaining 6 figures. Their spacing had changed significantly from the original scan. Instead of the precise 1.4 meters between each form, the gaps now varied between 1.1 and 1.8 meters. They had shifted closer together on one side of the chamber, as if making room for something, or moving away from something that frightened them. Hold on now. Could be aliens. Aliens opened that door. Am I right? Has anybody seen aliens on the Giant's Causeway? Missing 7th figure has never been located. No one can explain where it went or how it left a sealed chamber without disturbing the stone entrance that hadn't moved in 60 million years. It hasn't moved in 60 million years. And next this big giant door, the size of a transit van, opens and closes. And there just happened to be a drone in the air that filmed this. Get out of that garden now fairly quick. Keith's signatures. Dr. Aisling Moran, a specialist in infrared geological surveys from University College Cork, arrived the following week to conduct thermal imaging analysis. The goal was detecting any heat signatures that might indicate underground water movement or previously unknown geothermal activity beneath the formation. She set up her equipment on a cold morning in early March. The ambient air temperature was 4 degrees Celsius. The basalt surface registered at roughly the same temperature, exactly as expected for exposed volcanic rock in that climate. But inside the chamber, the thermal scan detected readings of 37.2 degrees Celsius. localized specifically around the 6 remaining figures. So, here's the catch. That temperature matches the internal body heat of a living human being almost exactly. There is no known geological explanation for isolated heat sources of that magnitude inside a rock formation that has been sealed for 60 million years. Dr. Moran asked Dr. Brennan directly if this was some kind of elaborate test or prank. When Dr. Brennan slowly shook her head, Dr. Moran packed up her equipment without another word, drove back to Cork that same afternoon, and didn't respond to any project emails for 3 weeks. Her eventual reply was brief. I don't know what those readings mean, and I'm not certain I want to find out. It's not that simple, though. The remaining research team obtained permission to install permanent monitoring sensors near the chamber. Near the chamber? What's wrong with you? You have to stop smoking those Aldi tea bags. Seriously? For entrance. Over the following 6 weeks, the data they collected raised far more questions than it answered. Vibration sensors detected rhythmic pulses emanating from behind the stone wall. The pattern repeated every 4.7 seconds, consistent and unwavering throughout the day and night. Dr. Walsh reluctantly described it as resembling a slow heartbeat, though he quickly added that such a comparison was purely observational. The thermal signatures fluctuated unpredictably. Some days the heat readings dropped to match the surrounding rock temperature. Other days they spiked above 40 degrees Celsius with no apparent cause. There was no correlation with weather patterns, tidal movements, or seismic activity anywhere in the region. Ever dramatic movements, never more than a few centimeters at a time. But the changes were consistent and clearly documented each time. The 6 remaining forms were slowly, steadily moving toward the sealed door. They were starving, sure. They wanted the snack boxes. Where was Finn McCool? Spinning around in his car, yeah. Eating all the chicken and the chips. Huh? Why wouldn't they be moving towards the door? What they don't want you to know. Dr. Brennan compiled her findings into a comprehensive preliminary report and submitted it to the Geological Survey Board for official review. The document was rejected within a week. The official reason cited insufficient peer review and methodology concerns. Unofficially, a sympathetic board member privately told Dr. Brennan that publishing her data would create problems no one in this field is prepared to address. Yeah, that's because it's all a lie. Would you just listen to yourself? Listen to yourself. Monitoring equipment was quietly removed in late April. Access restrictions to that section of the Causeway remain firmly in place today. The research team was strongly advised not to discuss their findings with media or the general public. But Marcus Whelan still has his original drone footage, saved on 3 separate hard drives. Dr. Brennan still has copies of her sonar data backed up in multiple secure locations. And somewhere in the archives of 3 separate universities, thermal imaging records show heat signatures that cannot be explained by any known scientific process. That's because it's BS. That's why they can't explain it. It's a hoax. Come on, people. The thing that keeps the researchers awake at night. The Giant's Causeway receives over 1 million visitors every single year. Tourists walk across those ancient hexagonal stones, photograph the dramatic coastline, and listen to charming legends about giants building bridges to Scotland. Most of them never notice the restricted section quietly cordoned off from public access. Most never stop to wonder why certain areas of a natural rock formation would need to be blocked off with barriers and warning signs. None of them know that just 12 meters behind that basalt wall, 6 figures stand motionless in absolute darkness. Their hollow... here now, I think I'm after hearing enough. Enough of this now. About the Giant's Causeway and the big door opening. Come on, get a grip of yourselves, will ye? 'Tis a hoax. I live near Hoax. And they're making thousands of videos about it. Get out of it.